Get up. It's a Moody morning. 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 Baby, get up on it. Hey, it's a Moody morning. Don't let your mornings be moody. Let them be moody.
Well, hello, boys and girls. It's me, Dr. Moody. Welcome back to our podcast, Moody Mornings, where we have exactly what you need for your moody mornings. Well, we're back today with episode number 27. And on today's episode, we'll be starting a series on the birth of Christ. And today we'll be looking about the prophecies of the birth of Jesus and the genealogy of Jesus. As always, before we start, let's welcome my co-host, Pastor Co-host Steve. How are you doing today?
Well, good Moody morning, Dr. Moody. I'm doing amazing today. You know, I'm super excited to begin this series on the birth of Jesus.
Oh, me too, Pastor Steve. As we've talked about, I really love the Christmas season. You know, I'm still hoping for that Zamboni.
You know, Dr. Moody, that Christmas is a time for us to celebrate the greatest gift ever given to us.
A Zamboni! Yes, it certainly would be a great gift.
Dr. Moody, you know, even though a Zamboni would be a great gift for you, it's not the greatest gift. You see, the greatest gift ever given is Jesus. And we celebrate his birth every year on December 25th. But do you know that Jesus has always existed? The Bible tells us in John chapter 1, it says, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things were made through him, and without him nothing was made that was made. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. And the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness did not comprehend it." And verse 14 is an awesome verse. It says, "And the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory, the glory as of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth."
Well, if I'm not mistaken, Pastor Steve, Jesus' birth was prophesied by many people. How about you tell us what a prophecy is, Pastor Steve?
Of course, Dr. Moody. You see, a prophecy is some sort of communication, whether it's written or spoken, that comes from divine inspiration, and it tells us all about the purposes of God. The prophecies of Jesus' birth, they go all the way back to the book of Genesis.
Genesis? Well, isn't that the very first book of the Bible? That's over 4,000 years before Jesus was even born.
Yes, Dr. Moody, all the way back to the book of Genesis. Well, let's not forget that Jesus was already there. Now, in Genesis chapter 3, when Adam and Eve sinned, God had said that Jesus would come and destroy Satan and sin. And we know that this took place when Jesus was born, when he died on the cross, and when he resurrected from the grave.
Well, okay, but that wasn't the only prophecy, was it?
No, as a matter of fact, there are over 300 references in the Old Testament that deal with the coming of the Messiah. And all of these were fulfilled in Jesus. Now, there were 61 prophecies that Jesus fulfilled in his lifetime. And of those 61 prophecies, 14 of them dealt directly with his birth.
Wow. Well, besides the prophecy in Genesis, what are some of the other prophecies that Jesus fulfilled when he was born?
Well, Dr. Moody, it was prophesied that Jesus would be born in Bethlehem. In Micah chapter 5 and verse 2, it says, "But you, Bethlehem Ephrathah, though you are little among the thousands of Judah, yet out of you shall come forth to me the one to be ruler in Israel, whose going forth are from old, from everlasting."
Well, we're told in Luke chapter 2 that this is where Jesus was born. Where were you born, Pastor Steve?
Well, Dr. Moody, if you must know, I was born in a hospital in the city of Pomona. What about you? Do you even remember where you were born?
Oh, it's funny you ask. I believe where I was born was a prophecy as well. I was born in a place called Bald Head in the state of Maine. And, well, as you can see, I'm bald. Seems like you might have been from there, too. But never mind that. Back to the important stuff. Joseph and Mary ended up in Bethlehem because of a census that was taking place. God had already knew that would be happening. Is there another prophecy, Pastor Steve?
Well, in Isaiah chapter 60 and verse 6, we are told that all those from Sheba shall come. They shall bring gold and incense, and they shall proclaim the praises of the Lord. Does that sound familiar, Dr. Moody?
Oh, it sure does, Pastor Steve. It sounds like the wise men when they came and brought gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh to Jesus. How about one more prophecy?
Sure, Dr. Moody. Now, this prophecy we can talk a little more about in the second half of our show because it deals with Jesus' genealogy.
Ah, yes. Genealogy, the study of rocks.
No, Dr. Moody, that's geology. A genealogy is the study of a family's ancestors or descendants, or as some people call it, a family tree.
Oh, a family tree. Well, do you put Christmas lights on that too?
It's not that kind of tree, Dr. Moody. You know, the prophecy was that Jesus would come from the seed of Abraham. He would be the son of Isaac and Jacob. He would be from the family line of Jesse and from the house of David. And all these came to pass. And in the second half of our show, we will look at some of the fulfillments of these prophecies and Jesus' family tree starting all the way back with Abraham.
Oh, this is going to be fun. I love this type of stuff.
Go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born. While shepherds kept their watching over silent flocks by night, behold, throughout the heavens there shone a holy light. The shepherds feared and trembled when low above the earth rang out an angel chorus that hailed our Savior's birth. So I said, go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born. Down in a lowly manger, a humble Christ was born, and brought us God's salvation that blessed Christmas morn. So I said, go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born. I was a lowly seeker, I saw both night and day. I asked the Lord to help me, and He showed me the way. He made me a watchman upon the city wall. If I am a Christian, well, I am the least of all. So I say, go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born. That Jesus Christ is born.
Well, so, Pastor Steve, it's time to start looking at the proverbial family tree of Jesus. Are we going to be looking at everyone in his family tree, like brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, grandmas, grandpas? Well, that would be a lot of people to look at.
You're right, Dr. Moody. That would be a lot of people. But today we're only going to be looking at a few people in the genealogy or family line of Jesus. And do you know what, Dr. Moody? We've already talked about some of them in our previous episodes.
What? We have? Who are they? Well, why didn't you say something?
Relax, Dr. Moody. You'll know who they are when we start talking about them. You know, in the Bible, we are given two different genealogies for Jesus.
Oh, hold your horses, Pastor Steve. Why is there two?
Well, Dr. Moody, I'm getting there. You see, the first genealogy is given to us in the book of Matthew chapter 1. This genealogy is the genealogy of Jesus through Joseph, his earthly father. And the second genealogy that's given to us is in the book of Luke chapter 3. This is the genealogy of Jesus through his mother Mary.
Oh, I see. Oh, well, one is from Jesus' earthly father's side and one from his mom's. Nah, I guess that makes total sense.
Well, today, Dr. Moody, let's talk about the genealogy in the book of Matthew. You know, there are some pretty remarkable people mentioned in Jesus' family line. Let's start with Abraham.
Father Abraham
Yes, Father Abraham.
and many sons.
Do you remember our very first episode when we were talking about Abraham's faith?
Indeed, I do, Pastor Steve. That's when he was asked by God to sacrifice his son Isaac.
Yes, and remember when Isaac noticed that there wasn't a sacrifice? Abraham told him not to worry, that God would provide himself as a sacrifice.
Yes, and God provided a ram, right?
He did provide a ram, but he was also talking about a much different sacrifice, a sacrifice that he would provide through his son, Jesus. And you could read about that prophecy in Genesis chapter 22 and verse 8. Do you know anybody else who might be in the genealogy of Jesus?
Well, let's see. If Abraham is part of the genealogy, I would presume his son and grandson must be as well. That would be Isaac and Jacob.
Correct, Dr. Moody. You are a Bible whiz.
Oh, well, thank you.
You know, it was also prophesied that Jesus would be the son of Isaac in Genesis chapter 21 and verse 12. And it was prophesied that he would be the son of Jacob in Genesis chapter 35, verses 10 through 12.
Well, if I remember correctly, there are some amazing stories in the Bible about Isaac and Jacob. One story involving a wrestling match. Maybe we can talk about that story one day, Pastor Steve.
Yeah, that would be a good story to talk about. Dr. Moody, do you know of anybody else in Jesus' genealogy? How about I give you a clue? This man sent his son with some bread and some cheese and was told to check on his brothers who were in battle with Saul's army. Does that sound like anyone you might know?
Bread, cheese. That sounds like David, the son of Jesse.
Yes, and guess what, Dr. Moody? That was also prophesied. You can read about the house of David in 2 Samuel chapter 7, verses 12 through 16.
Oh, Pastor Steve, there's a lot of names.
Yes, there are, and there are many more. And Dr. Moody, I know how much you love reading Bible names, so why don't you read all of the names that are in the genealogy of Jesus that we find here in Matthew chapter 1?
Oh, it's my lucky day. All right, here goes nothing. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Judah, Perez, Zerah, Hezron, Ram, Aminadab, Nahshon, Salmon, Boaz, Obed, Jesse, King David, Solomon, Rehoboam, Abijah, Asa, Jehoshaphat, Jehoram, Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, Hezekiah, Manasseh, Amon, Josiah, Jehoiakim, Shealtiel, Zerubbabel, Abiud, Eliakim, Azor, Zadok, Akim, Eliud, Eleazar, Mathan, Jacob, Joseph, and Jesus.
Whew, good job, Dr. Moody. That was a lot of names, actually 42 generations worth.
Yeah, it felt like it took 42 generations to read.
Isn't it amazing that all of this was prophesied? Do you know how rare it would be for someone to fulfill just 8 of these prophecies?
Oh, I don't know, Pastor Steve. Probably like 1 in a million.
Close. Try 1 in 100 quadrillion.
100 quadrillion. Well, that would be like me blindfolding you and telling you to go find a coin in the sand on the beach. But me not telling you which beach to go to.
That would be impossible. And as impossible as that sounds, that was the same chance the prophets had in writing any 8 prophecies and having all of them come true in just one man.
Wow. Well, that kind of puts everything into perspective. The greatest gift God gave to us didn't happen by chance. It was truly a miracle.
It was. And the prophecies, the genealogy, the birth of Jesus, it was all carefully orchestrated and planned out by God. He knew exactly what he was doing. Well, Dr. Moody, now that everything has been put into perspective for you, maybe you can go into this Christmas season being thankful for the gift that has been given to you.
Oh, I am thankful, but I still want that Zamboni. Boys and girls, thank you for joining us today as we looked at some of our history that surrounded the birth of Jesus. Do you have a question about the Bible, or maybe a question for Dr. Moody? We would love to hear from you. Have your parents message us on Instagram, and who knows, maybe we might just answer your questions here on Moody Mornings. Next time on Moody Mornings, we will discover more of the Christmas story and the messengers who brought good news. Be sure to tune in. And don't forget to check us out online. Have your parents search for us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Just have them search for CCGS Kids. And don't forget to follow our podcast, Moody Mornings, so you don't miss out on any new episodes. And remember, no matter what time of the day, you can always have a Moody Morning. We'll see you next time.